So I've filmed this 3 times now. Thought about just not doing it, but I've really wanted to do this video since the beginning of my channel, so we're gonna give it another try. So going in, I knew that I didn't want this to be a sad and depressing video, but that being said, I also didn't feel like it was appropriate to do my normal quirky upbeat intro like I do here. Hey guys, welcome back. And here, hey guys, welcome back. So I thought that we'd just get into it. And in preparing myself to film this video one too many times, I realized that not one single person knows everything I'm about to tell you. Obviously, those who know me personally, who were around when all this went down, know the bits and pieces that they were there for, but not one single person except for me knows everything that happened. Today, I'm going to share with you how I almost let an eating disorder take my life and how for years I was living a lie. Yes, it sounds dramatic. And if that sounds annoying and boring to you, go ahead and click off now. But if you'd like to listen to the story, stay tuned. Going through and editing the video that I recorded maybe last week for this, I realized that I wanted to say a couple things. So this story is going to seem quite long because I have been suffering from eating disorder or disordered eating habits since I was 11 years old until, I don't want to say present, but of course, yes, they're still with me. And when I say disordered eating, in the past that's included restricting, binging, purging, laxatives, addicted to exercising, etc, etc, etc. So we're just gonna get started. I guess I'm just gonna have to start from the beginning. So I had a pretty boring childhood, nothing traumatic by any means. I was very, very happy child, a little weird, but at the age we're all kind of weird. Then age 11, a lot of things happened all at once. We packed up and moved to a different house, a different town, a different school. And then while we were packing up to move, my grandfather died. Also at this time, I was going through puberty. And in that summer, before I started 6th grade at that new school, my dad introduced to me my favorite breakfast of all time. Definitely not the healthiest breakfast of all time. Oatmeal and chocolate chips. Light on the oatmeal, heavy on the chocolate chips. And so an 11-year-old going through puberty, all these changes, plus a not too healthy breakfast every single day. As you can imagine, that resulted in a lot of weight gain. And so I was starting my new school looking and feeling very, very different than I had before that summer, because I went from a pretty petite little child to 130 pounds at 11 years old. Yeah, let that sink in. So I started this new school and there they were, very skinny and preppy and pretty girls, and I did not feel like I fit in at all. I didn't feel like I was pretty. I definitely wasn't skinny. I took that to heart. And so there wasn't any disordered eating, I want to say, in this time period, but I had to mention this because I feel like this might have been the catalyst to kind of all of my future problems with my body, being very self-critical at all times, afraid of failure. Yeah, so kind of this moment in time was very critical and very traumatic because it just kind of lined up everything else that I'm about to tell you. So now we're going to flash forward to freshman year of high school. I think I'm 14 years old at this point, and I was starting to kind of grow into my body a little bit better than I was in junior high. But freshman year, I became very, very curious about dieting. And when I say dieting, in my 14-year-old mind meant restricting. And I remember going through the lunch line with my best friend, kind of skipping the main entrees, and I would pick up celery and mustard because I knew celery was negative calories and mustard was 0. And I think I would bring a granola bar with me to eat sometimes, and that was basically my diet. In the morning, I had skipped breakfast, and I think my calorie intake was around like 500 calories or lower. I kept it up for quite a few weeks, and I was very proud of the weight loss. Like, I wasn't secretive about the restricting to my friends. Family didn't really know what was going on, but my best friend in high school, she was like, No. I lost maybe 15 pounds in a couple of weeks. And then because I wasn't eating enough, obviously I was super hungry, and sometimes during those weeks I'd have really bad binges. I'd come home and basically raid the entire fridge. And I think that's probably why my parents didn't realize it, because in their eyes I was eating. So in the end, my best friend told my dad what was going on, and he sat me down and was like, hey, yeah, you may be losing weight now, but once you start eating normal again, you're just gonna gain the weight all back. And because I didn't want that, I stopped, which, as you can guess, the weight came back. So sophomore year, nothing very interesting happened, although my dad did get a gym membership. So I kind of got into like the weightlifting and working out for the first time that year. And I realized it could be quite fun. And I didn't notice the weight loss as prominent as when I was dieting, but I did start to notice a little bit of male attention. And also when I was working out, I started to become a little bit more confident, and I realized that confidence and male attention could be addicting, but nothing serious happened that year. So we're gonna go ahead and flash forward to junior year. Here's where I mention how nerdy I was in high school. I think the only extracurricular activity I did was marching band. So for marching band, we had practice at 7 a.m. and then, so we stayed out on the field from 7 a.m. and then first period was also marching band. So we just stayed out there for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And every morning I would leave the house a little early to get there so I could stop at a gas station and pick up 2 to 3 donuts, stuff them in my mouth before practice, and then go off to practice and march my butt off. And I would always be late because of getting these donuts, even though I left early. And in my mind I was like, this isn't good, this is a very unhealthy habit. And I gained a lot of weight and I was really unhappy with myself, but then I couldn't stop. Like almost every single morning I would stop at that gas station and pick up those donuts, and I really wanted to stop. I didn't like being late. I was being yelled at for being late, and I was gaining all this weight. So I was like, bro, but I couldn't stop. So then senior year, this habit also kind of continued because I did marching band from sophomore year till I graduated. And so early senior year, this habit continued. And then late senior year, I started a group workout program called Ferals. And that's where you go and you kickbox a couple days a week, and then you do strength training. And it's a 10-week challenge, and you have an opportunity to win $1,000 at the end. And to my surprise, I was pretty good at this program. In the beginning, I was very nervous to do group fitness because I felt like I was going to be judged. But turns out that I was the youngest person in my group. And so a lot of the older adults kind of looked to me because I was doing such a great job. I mean, having a teenage metabolism helped a little bit, but I was there every single day. I put 110%, and I listened to the meal plan. As far as meal plan goes, speaking of, there wasn't anything too restrictive, like no foods that you can or cannot have. It was very just like a set of guidelines, and you had a meal coach to kind of walk you through it, and I loved it, and I kind of really want to go back. But anyway, so 18, I was still kind of struggling with my body, and I fell in love with kickboxing. I fell in love with working out, and I wasn't addicted to the working out, but I was addicted to the self-confidence and, again, the male attention. So the 10-week program was, I think, March to May. And towards the end of the program, May was also when I was going to graduate, and we had the final weigh-in coming up. May, around that time, it's also my birthday and my sister's birthday. And so in 1 week, I think we went out to eat for birthday dinners 2 or 3 times, and we had cake, and it was that last week for the final weigh-in. So I was very anxious. I was about to graduate. I was about to do this final weigh-in, but I was eating really badly, which up until that point I was being pretty good. So the week of my birthday, I had a really bad panic attack and decided that I was going to press eject and get rid of that food. So that was the first time that I purged, and definitely will not be the last, unfortunately. So here's where things get pretty interesting. In May of 2012, I graduated high school. I just turned 18 and had just finished the Ferals program, so I was pretty lean and fit and feeling pretty good. I was pretty confident, and I went to Iowa State for my freshman year of college. In that summer before I left for college, there was some talk of waiting a year, which looking back I probably should have done, but I wanted to graduate with my classmates, and also one of my close friends also went off to Iowa State with me and was in the same major, so we had a lot of classes together, so I really wanted a class with her. So I ended up going, and right off the bat I was actually better at the college life than I expected. Like, I made a lot of friends, which for me, being really socially awkward and having maybe like a group of 4 or 5 friends in high school, this was really new to me, and I was actually pretty good. I had like this giant group. We were actually pretty well known across campus, and I was having a lot of fun. I started my classes in late August, and I really liked them, and I was doing great at them, and surprisingly I was doing really well. Then I was introduced to my roommate's friends, and they were all older, so I kind of got just shoved into the alcohol scene, which I was a nerd in high school. Never, well, I can't say never, maybe like 1 sip or 2 of alcohol before this, and so as you can guess, I died. But I found that when I was drinking, the confidence, you know, liquid courage, and also the male attention, which was very addicting to me for some reason. Freshman year, I got pushed into the drinking scene, and at first I really liked it, and the attention and confidence was addicting. And then I started to realize I really didn't like who I was becoming, and I was making a lot of freshman drunken girl mistakes. So I stopped going out, and instead of just, you know, like stop going out as much, I decided to isolate myself. Like, just I would stay up in my room. It happened so fast but slow at the same time, I didn't even notice it, that I gradually stopped going to class. I stopped eating, and I was just sleeping, and because I wasn't eating, I was weak and couldn't do much else but lay in bed. And then because I had basically started to fail my classes, I became very anxious towards the end of the semester and felt like that impending doom, and was really upset with myself because I failed. So coming up to Thanksgiving break, I was really nervous about going home because I knew that they'd try to keep me from going back, or I knew the fights would be explosive, and they were. So I go home for Thanksgiving break, and they try to keep me from going, and somehow I talked my way into letting them let me fix it and go back and do better. During Christmas break, there was a lot of comments, or not a lot, but a few comments where some people noticed that I was pretty tiny or had lost some weight, and I lied and said that I had been working out, and you know, those comments fed my confidence. Going through pictures for this project, I found this one photo that I took during Christmas break, and I was shocked. I will put it here. I did not realize how sick and unhappy I was, but in this picture, I was shook. So flash forward to second semester of freshman year, I go back, and again I go back to my friends, I go back to class, and I start doing really well. I also went back to partying every once in a while and made a bunch of drunken girl mistakes again. Got really upset with myself, didn't like who I was becoming, and so I again isolated myself. Instead of just, I could shake past me, I swear. But so I isolated myself once again and gradually stopped eating once again and stopped going to class, and basically was so weak that I couldn't get up. Showering even took about an hour because I had to turn off the water, go sit down, come back in, continue like showering. I'd have to turn the water back off, So then I noticed that I was going down the rabbit hole and tried to fix it a couple times, but each time I failed, partially because I slowly became afraid of food. And I didn't realize it back then, but one of my close friends that I was in the same major with, we had a lot of classes together. Whenever we had a break from classes, we would go out for coffee or to go to lunch together. So I was afraid to go to class because that meant meeting up with my friend and going to lunch and eating. so I didn't. Eventually around March, I think, she just gave up on trying to get me to go to class and gave up on me. Blocked me on Facebook, etc, etc, etc. Yeah, whatever. Which I don't blame her for, 100% anyway. It's a little ironic that her major was psychology and she wanted to be a psychologist and she couldn't handle my shit, but hey. After spring break, things went from pretty bad to worse, and I think there was a week after spring break where I only ate twice that week. I know Monday night was my first meal and I didn't eat again until Friday that week. The only reason why I ate that Friday is because I had a date. So after that week, the eating disorder was getting worse. I was not eating, and if I did have to eat, I would throw it up shortly after. And around this time, I was realizing that I was in deep shit, or if I wasn't, I was going to be pretty soon. So I went to go tell my roommate, and it wasn't taken seriously, partially because we were drinking when I told her. And she was also pretty occupied because she got a serious boyfriend at the time, and pause, not blaming at all, but her being away with her boyfriend a lot made it easier for the eating disorder, I think, to kind of go from this to this pretty quickly. So yeah, I wasn't eating, and if I did have to, I was throwing it up. Eventually, her and her boyfriend, I think, kind of realized that I was serious, or it was getting serious. There was one day where my friends took me out to, or I joined them. I joined them for supper, and afterwards I walked back to my dorm, which was a couple miles from campus. So I walked all the way back, and as I was walking back, a guy friend of mine stopped in his car and was like, "Hey, I'll drive you back." And I was in full panic mode in this car on the inside. Outside, I don't think you could tell, but inside I was freaking out about the food in my stomach. Was driving back to the dorm and ended up at Cold Stone with this guy, and some friends saw that I was with this guy and kind of jumped to conclusions and thought it was like a date or thought it looked weird. Well, this guy is one of my friend's crushes, so a lot of unnecessary drama kind of unfolded and made my anxiety worse, I guess. But part of me was like, okay, you know, friends go away, it'll make it easier to kind of isolate myself. Drama unfolded, and I was really, really upset and like really depressed, and the anxiety kind of just tenfold. My roommate and her boyfriend realized how bad things were and how depressed I was, and they took me out for the night and took me bowling. But first we went to Orange Leaf, and I ate a little bit of ice cream, and we went to the bowling alley and we were bowling, and that whole time I was freaking out about the ice cream in my stomach. So I found my way to the bathroom and got rid of it, some of it, because it was a public place and I didn't want to be doing that in the public bathroom. And then I came out and my roommate was like, "You didn't just throw up, right?" I promised her that I didn't. I lied. They tried to keep me out for like a while so that like I couldn't throw up the ice cream. So then finally I went to my dorm and they went to his place, and I got rid of as much as I could. And looking back this night, I probably should have gone to the hospital or been admitted or not have been alone, but I got really, really upset at myself that I couldn't even enjoy some ice cream and a night out bowling with friends. And I was really, really upset with myself for not being able to handle that ice cream and throwing it all up. So I took it out on myself and kind of self-harmed as punishment. And I was so angry and so upset that I blacked out, and I came to, and during this time I did not have a phone. It was either missing or broken or something, so I didn't have a phone with me. The only thing I had to get hold of anybody was Facebook Messenger. So I realized that I probably should go to the emergency room or at least not be alone. So I messaged a couple people, but it was in the middle of the night and it was Facebook Messenger. So I tried to get a hold of people, and when that didn't work, I kind of just listened to some sad Demi Lovato music and cried myself to sleep. So that was kind of a turning point for me, where I realized that things were getting pretty bad, if not were bad, and the semester was ending. And so I decided to go out with my friends, drinking a little bit and like after dinner and hang out one last time. So we went out and I was getting ready to go out, and my like go-to outfit was something with like the boots that went up to your calves, and I've always had like really muscular calves, so like I would always need someone to help me zip those up. So another big uh-oh moment was getting ready for this night. I not only could zip up the boots by myself, but my legs were very wobbly in them. Like the shoe wasn't fitting right and I could almost slip my foot out. So that was a huge uh-oh moment. That night was also a night where my roommate's boyfriend, who was kind of like a big brother to me at the time, made me promise to him that I would start drinking protein shakes, because for some reason the only thing that I would drink without freaking out is chocolate milk. For some reason that's my comfort food drink thing. So he made me promise that if he got me chocolate protein shakes that I would drink them, and that way he knew I was getting at least something. So my grades weren't good. I was failing out the second semester again. So I was on my second strike, and I had one more semester to prove to myself that I could stay at Iowa State, otherwise I would get kicked out. But I ended up not taking that third attempt and instead dropped out and went home to get better, because I feared that if I didn't go home to get better, things would not go well. Which inevitably, when I moved home, things got worse before they got better, unfortunately. Hey guys, so I'm just sitting here editing my eating disorder vlog, and it is really long. So stay tuned for part 2.